CBS 6 News at 5 starts now with breaking news.
It's almost 5 o'clock and there's a major break in the case of missing UVA student Hannah Graham. I'm Bill Fitzgerald.
And I'm Julie Bragg. We were the first to tell you state police say forensic evidence links Graham's accused abductor Jesse Matthew to the murder of a Virginia Tech student nearly 5 years ago. Lorenzo Hall is anchoring our complete coverage from Charlottesville. Lorenzo.
Yeah, Julie, Virginia State Police are calling this new link a significant break in the murder of Morgan Harrington, which dates back to 2009. I'm going to bring in our Laura French now. She broke these developments during our new newscast today. And Laura, as police were saying, this is a significant break.
A huge break, and one that we learned about last week, but we chose to hold on to this information because this case is obviously a sensitive issue. We want to make sure that we're not getting in the way of their investigation. But again, we were able to confirm today that Jesse Matthew Jr. has been linked. Forensic evidence has linked him to the Morgan Harrington case from 2009.
Thank God. Thank God. This has been a long time coming.
An overwhelming sense of cautious relief as news that CBS 6 exclusively broke spread through the Charlottesville community and on grounds.
He's not out there anymore, so it is a great relief.
The Virginia State Police confirming that Jesse Matthew Jr., the suspect behind bars for abducting second-year UVA student Hannah Graham, is forensically linked to 20-year-old Morgan Harrington on the night the Virginia Tech student disappeared after leaving the John Paul Jones Arena October 17, 2009. Her body discovered 3 months later on this Albemarle County farm. Her parents from that January 2010 day on a mission to find their daughter's killer.
This is a homegrown predator, local boy. He knows this community well. He's very familiar with this community.
VSP is calling this forensic link a significant break in the case. The Harrington family and this entire shaken community calling it a relief.
Hearing like this connection, it's a start, we want to make sure that everybody around grounds is safe.
My mom has been really worried about the safety of Charlottesville. And it's really reassuring now to know that the guy who's suspected in the Hannah Graham and Morgan Harrington cases has been caught.
To think that this might be over now, it's awesome.
But it is far from over. We need to remember this news is bittersweet. While this entire community is breathing a sigh of relief tonight, a cautious sigh of relief, because obviously you are innocent until proven guilty, there is still a missing Hannah Graham, and that is the focus that we want to make sure that we continue to put out there. We still have a student missing, Lorenzo, and one that police are still searching for. There were search crews out today even looking for Hannah Graham.
Very good point to add there, Laura. And I'm also sure a lot of folks at home are wanting to know about this evidence. We've heard very little about what this evidence is that's linking Jesse Matthew not only to Hannah Graham apparently, but also Morgan Harrington.
And to that point, police are only saying that this is forensic evidence, and they shouldn't release any more than that because we now have a trial that will be ahead of us, and they need to keep all of this information now tight to their chest. Harringtons have said at this point they need to take a step back from this and let investigators do their job, and obviously very relieved today.
CBS 6 News at 6 starts now with breaking news.
And that breaking news is new information on the disappearance of Morgan Harrington. She's the Virginia Tech student who disappeared in Charlottesville in 2009. Sources tell CBS 6 News there is another link between Jesse Matthew and the Harrington case. I'm Cheryl Miller, in tonight for Stephanie Rochon.
And I'm Bill Fitzgerald. Right now, Jesse Matthew is only facing charges in the disappearance of Hannah Graham, the UVA student who disappeared 26 days ago. Our Laura French is live in Charlottesville with new information you'll only see here on CBS 6. Laura?
Well, Bill, this story is breaking by the hour. We are learning so much more information about what may have happened in this very spot 5 years ago next week to Morgan Harrington when she was last seen at the bridge you see behind me, involving Jesse Matthew, what he may have been doing that night, his cab, and a federal and state investigation that's going on right now. Sources confirm that at least 2 local cab employees, through questioning, have informed federal and state investigators that Jesse Matthew Jr., the man behind bars for the abduction of second-year UVA student Hannah Graham, was working as a cab driver on October 17, 2009, the night murdered Virginia Tech student Morgan Harrington disappeared after leaving the John Paul Jones Arena. As we first told you, forensic evidence also links Matthew to Harrington that night. CBS 6 has also exclusively learned that investigators have interviewed at least 20 other cab employees from around Charlottesville to learn more about that October night, as they did after Harrington went missing. Sources say Jesse Matthew was one of them 5 years ago.
Everything's starting to add up.
Career cab driver Melvin Carter, who knew Matthew, said he reached out to investigator 5 years ago after being questioned about local cab companies.
And I asked which taxi cab. She said, yes, she did jump into a taxi cab that night before her last being seen alive.
Sources also confirmed to CBS 6 that as part of this active investigation, the cab Matthew drove in 2009 was seized by authorities from a farm just 2 weeks ago.
He made an impression on her, because from what I heard about her mental state, she was upset and everything else. So she might found someone who was loving and trusting and comfort her.
Those close to Matthew in 2009 tell CBS 6 that they informed investigators that they would joke with their former coworker that he resembled this sketch of the man linked to a 2005 rape in Fairfax and the man linked to Harrington. They say Matthew would at times brush it off and other times get visibly upset and disappear for hours. Now, so many interviews going on behind the scenes now. We've also learned that they have provided investigators with information on dispatchers that were working the night of October 17th, and that also they're being asked for any photos that anyone may have seen around the cab companies of Morgan. We talked to the Morgan Harrington family tonight. They said, obviously, this is the news they've been waiting for. You know, early on in the investigation, they got some tips, but there's been such a lull in the information. So this is welcome news. Another piece of the puzzle, as they said, to bring them closer to justice for Morgan. They said they're excited, they are encouraged, but at the end of the day, still so incredibly saddened because they don't have their daughter. Reporting live in Charlottesville with this breaking news, Laura French, CBS 6 News.
Discovery of human remains over the weekend has concluded the search for missing UVA student Hannah Graham. Police tell us this is now a death investigation. Meanwhile, friends and family of both the victim and the suspect are reacting to the devastating news. Our Laura French is live in Charlottesville with the very latest. Laura.
Well, what was just days ago a multi-jurisdiction massive search has now, as you said, turned into a death investigation. And while we await forensic results to come back, many are coming to terms with what could soon be a tragic reality. Just 4 short miles from this abandoned Albemarle County property, now lined with police tape and full of detectives investigating the discovery of human remains, sits the quaint little house Jesse Matthew Jr. and his mother once called home.
She wanted to try to keep Jesse out of the city, away from gang activity, if it was gang activity in the city. She was just trying to make it safe for her son.
Neighbor Cliff Hunt says she wanted the best for her son, who is now the prime suspect in the disappearance of UVA student Hannah Graham, last seen on Charlottesville's downtown mall September 13th. 5 weeks of searching for the second-year student may have ended just beyond this yellow tape Saturday when a Chesterfield County searcher came across human remains.
Something you never expect.
Meanwhile, residents at Hannah's Grand Mark apartment complex shaken Sunday with the reality that Hannah may never walk these halls with them again, the same hall she was captured on in surveillance that September night.
It's really scary because up until now you didn't really know exactly what happened to her, but now that it's confirmed, it's so definite, and it's just a really scary thought that this happened so close to us and to someone like us.
I just know a lot of people who were very close with her. It's just been on everyone's mind for a really long time, but we're all glad to have some kind of closure about it. It's just been really tough for the whole community.
Tough on a community, tough on parents waiting for word if forensic testing will confirm their worst fears, and tough on Jesse Matthews' father, who through a friend told CBS 6 he is heartbroken for Hannah's family and his own as they deal with mounting serious allegations against their son, who so many thought they knew.
You got to be neighbors, and you never know what's inside of a person.
And we did spend a good amount of time tonight, Tracy, outside of Jesse Matthew Jr.'s father's home. We spoke in length with his roommate tonight. He said they're all trying to be there for him as well, because this is so upsetting to him when he got that news as well, that they had possibly found the remains of Hannah Graham. He says that he hopes that her family does get some closure out of this, that he is absolutely heartbroken, as we said, that this could potentially be the case for her family and for his as they deal with these allegations. Meanwhile, Albemarle County Police will be back at Old Lynchburg Road again tomorrow investigating. Reporting live from Charlottesville, Laura French, CBS 6 News.
He led the investigation that captured the attention of people in Virginia and across the world. The disappearance of University of Virginia student Hannah Graham. Charlottesville Police Chief Tim Longo guided the relentless search for Hannah and her accused kidnapper, and he became known for his passionate news conferences.
But now, for the first time, the chief is talking about what he calls the most difficult 35 days of his entire career. Laura French has this CBS 6 exclusive report.
I'm Chief Longo of the Charlottesville Police Department.
October 18th, 2014.
What, if you could even put into words, was going through your head as you prepared for that press conference?
How do you prepare for that?
A police chief about to deliver tragic news with the world watching.
When they discovered what appears to be human remains.
The heartbreaking end to what would be the most difficult 35 days in Tim Longo's 34-year career.
It was one of the saddest moments of a career. To know that at some point in time, someone will have to sit down with two very wonderful and special people and share news with them that they don't want to hear.
Life, as this family knew it, would all change on one mid-September day.
About the disappearance of UVA sophomore Hannah Graham.
The victim.
We're looking for Hannah Graham.
Her parents.
This is every parent's worst nightmare.
The pain.
Please, please help end this nightmare for all of us. Please help us to bring Hannah home.
The powerful pleas.
And pick up the phone and tell us something. If that young lady's touched your life in any way, you have the responsibility to help us find her.
And the passion.
I believe Jesse Matthew was the last person she was seen with before she vanished off the face of the earth.
Hannah Elizabeth Graham, the 18-year-old University of Virginia star student and athlete, the only daughter of John and Susan Graham, the name that would make international headlines after she disappeared in the early hours of September 13th. These would be the last images of the second-year student, the final frames captured on Charlottesville's downtown pedestrian mall. Support to find Hannah quickly started coming in from around the world, from well wishes on the web to hundreds of search and support teams on the ground. A community and police force with one common goal.
I would tell them I've made a promise on your behalf, so help me fulfill that promise. And they did.
What was that commitment that you made to John and Susan Graham?
To bring their daughter home.
I got 3 more for your team.
That enormous task was filled with many challenges.
I'm hoping that they're hearing my words and seeing my frustration.
And some criticisms.
So I think maybe it's a little bit overly emotional.
I'm passionate about life. I'm passionate about this job. I'm passionate about the message that I communicate it in the way that I do that. And if that's offensive or that is something to be criticized for, I'll fully accept the criticism. Now let's move on.
And he did.
And obtained an arrest warrant for Jesse Leroy Matthew Jr. of Charlottesville, charging him with a Class 2 felony of abduction with the intent to defile.
Days after she vanished and many miles from the downtown mall, the prime suspect in Hannah Graham's disappearance is captured on a beach in Texas. The manhunt for an accused kidnapper over, but his alleged victim still missing.
Our little girl.
Each day without Hannah getting increasingly harder on the Grahams.
As a parent and as a husband, I can't imagine what they're going through.
And this father of 4.
and you're sitting in the sidelines at your own daughter's soccer game, does it make you feel like you can't take anything for granted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are two things I say to my children every morning before either I leave the house or they leave the house, and it's I love you and come home to me safely.
And that is what this chief and his department wanted so desperately for these parents. But as the world would find out October 18th, that is not how Day 35 would end.
Detective Sergeant James Mooney of the Charlottesville Police Department made a very difficult phone call.
The search for Hannah Graham ended on this vacant Albemarle County property. But even in the midst of their despair, this message from the Grahams would follow.
But due to the tenacity and determination of Chief Longo, Hannah is coming home to us, and we will be eternally grateful to him for this. They just lost their daughter, and you're the person that they put in that first paragraph.
We treated two very special people, two very wonderful people, how we would want our own families treated if, God forbid, we were in a similar situation. It's no more complicated than that. It's just that simple.
It's just simply the way this 34-year veteran of the force and his team operates behind these closed doors. It's what he says comes with wearing this badge. It's what came with that promise he made to these parents that mid-September day.
We can come together for a common good and achieve a result. In this case, that result was painful. It was very painful. It is very painful. But it's also a result that honors a commitment that was made. I don't know how that can't touch you. And it touched me and continues to do so.
Longo says some cases walk with you forever. This is one of them. He says they owe a huge debt to those who assisted in this case, and they are poised and prepared to pay it forward with honor if called upon. As for this ongoing criminal case, he says it is far from over and asks for the public's patience. He hopes justice prevails and that no matter what the outcome, that it is just. Laura French, CBS 6 News.